Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Today I will uh, present the ThermalGAN. It's a little bit old paper, 2018 ECC workshop. The reason I choose this paper is because it's a little bit similar to what we are trying to do. So let's get started. So the contribution of this paper is first they introduce a ThermalGAN framework, which is like color to thermal image translator, and then use that ThermalGAN framework to do personal identification. And then second contribution is like a data set of color and thermal images for personal identification task. And then the last contribution is that they train other models, personal identification models in their data set, and then evaluate them with their framework. So yeah, person identification task usually involves several cameras. So they take the image from one camera and try to match it with other image taken from other cameras from other angles, and check if it's the same person or not. And then yeah, so apparently it's very hard to do person identification because of the with color image, because of lighting condition. And so in this paper they try to do the identification task with thermal images. And yeah, so first they will just translate color image into thermal image, and then they perform matching in the thermal image using the generated thermal image and then a real thermal gallery set. So here is like overall architecture. First they crop the image, take the person, and then input it to their ThermalGAN, and then yeah, actually personal identification. Yeah, so but I think their main contribution here is their data set and their ThermalGAN, because I thought about it. I don't know too much about personal identification, but I think what they are doing is a little bit. First, they don't mention about the time. Maybe it's so slow, and then even though it outperforms others, but I think for doing this task, they should have installed thermal and RGB camera everywhere, payroll, both of them, which doesn't make that much sense, I think. So they generate synthetic thermal image from color image and then use their thermal gallery set. I hope they recorded before or they recorded in real time. They don't mention about it that much. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so here and then yeah, they measure the distance between first they make yeah, so they make an identification task between two thermal images. Actually, they synthesize a thermal probe set, several images, and then they compare all of them with all of other thermal gallery set, and then choose one of them, the best matching one. That's so yeah. So I think I already talked about data set, and I'll go over it one more time. So the data set contains of two part. One is specifically for training their GAN models, which contains 5098 color and thermal image, pixel level annotation. And then the array split includes 15,000 aligned color and thermal images. And they have 516 IDs. And it's one of the most up-to-date data set at that time. as we can see from this chart, like yeah, especially like thermal and color and thermal data set for personal identification. And here's the example image from their identification split part. And so uh, the part that they use for their GAN training is collected in different uh, weather condition and everything. So they weather condition and in different cities. And then the annotation have been done manually, pixel level annotation, and it has like uh, that part has 10 classes. Okay. So the method that they use for generating for translating color to thermal image is consists of two GANs. First, they predict the average object temperature, and then they produce the thermal segmentation from using the one GAN, and then input that result with a color image to the next GAN, and they predict the absolute temperatures. So here is like the overall architecture of the image. Yeah. So during the training, they just train the GANs, and then they input A is a color image, and they put here T is temperature vector, which is their desired background and body temperature, like average of the background and the body temperature. So if you change that one, you can get different result. So they use this in the as an input to the gun, and then they okay. Here's more. Yeah, they train two generators and they train they separately. So the first generator just translate the mm, color image and vector temperature, and they produce like thermal segmentation, which is more like here the S2, S like S image, S1, S2, and S3. This is the result of the um, I don't know. Oh, yeah, it's like the kind of segmentation of the thermal image, and then they input it to the second, and they talk about modality. So the first generator is multimodal generator, but in the second generator is unimodal generator. They assume that one, and the input is the input of the second generator is four channel, but yeah, four channel. One channel is the thermal segmentation, and the three channel is color image. So there, uh, no, the input only RGB. Uh, T is just like a temperature vector. So its value are like the average background temperature and average body temperature. So if you change, like they use it to produce the better result. Output the second generator is just like synthetic thermal image. Uh, so here, like the first row is the output of the second generator. This synthetic multimodal thermal probe. This is what their final result is. And yeah, after the generators, so yeah, they use bicycle game for the first generator, and they modify a little bit, like they're adding some convolution, the convolution layer, and as I said, like they use average background temperature instead of random noise, and then here the loss function, and then as I said, like they hypothesized that the, like the input for the second generator is unimodal, so that's why they use peaks-to-peaks GAN, and then they made some slight modification to the GAN so they can get better result. And then the final result is output of the Bose generator. So I think they don't train this part, but like here they take the thermal image, which contains only single channel, and they use this maximum stable extremal region to extract some features, and then they also use temperature histogram from the thermal thermal image, and then they save them like in the eye, and then they measure the distance between two eyes. One is from original image, one is from the synthetic image, and here's the how they they measure the distance. Yeah, so they use Bhattacharya distance, which is like the measure between similarity between two probability distributions. And in the instead of probability distribution, they use temperature histogram, and then they also use MSER distance, which is a dissimilarity between two set of the regions in an image. And it's like so this is a result of their color to thermal translation. So they get much more realistic thermal image than other GANs, as you can see. Like the 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 last column, the last part is the result of the thermal GAN, and the rest is from other GANs. And as you can see, to the relative to the ground truth, this is much more similar. So here is some results, and as you can see, uh, in case of realism, they get very high result, but in case of this diversity, they get uh, low result than others. I think this is like as I understood from this distance, LP IPS distance, it kind of measures the dissimilarity between two image, and the higher the result means the worse the result. But I think I maybe I understood it wrongly. So like this, their realism result will be is much higher than the purest methods. And also in case of personal identification using generated synthetic thermal, they get much higher result in both single shot and multi-shot. Uh, yeah, that's it. Can you go to the slide, technical slide, generation one and generation two? Which kind of load is applied just for this treatment? Uh, yeah, here so they use variation autoencoder based loss, and then L1 loss for our generation two. What kind of use is applied? I mean, when using discrimination, you have to apply real data. What is real data? Is it synthetic somebody? So here, the input to generator 2 is S and A. So S is like segmentation mask, yeah, and then A is color image, and output is so I think they already have the real, like for each input A, they already have the thermal pair. So the output is synthetic thermal, and then they compare it with original thermal.
So why does A include this already thermal image?
No, it's color image.
And then they don't use any thermal image here.
Yeah, in training they don't use thermal image at all. Only they use it while personal identification. Yeah, so they just use this T, and yeah, this is that it doesn't have to do anything with thermals. It's yeah. No, but I mean, like while training, they use the thermal image, like here S, the brown S and the brown R for yeah,
They want to use the that's their
yeah. I think the temperature vector is it it I suffer a lot to understand that, but so from what I understood, it's like contains the desired background and object temperature. So the average background temperature. So you can give actually in other generative models they just give noise vector, but here they instead of noise vectors they give like average background temperature and object temperature. I think because it's person identification and the image is smaller and it has only person in it, so you can just give background maybe closer to not zero, but to average outside temperature and the object to closer to 36 body temperature. I think
how do you believe the control spectrum can you only go like that? Yeah, I think we made control spectrum for testing.
yeah.
So how do you know that? Or I think
It's a good question.
it's precise already.
Maybe yeah, but in paper it doesn't talk anything about the temperature. So that they talk it about once or twice. Once during the describing the generative models, instead of noise they give temperature, and then once they talk like that, it's average background and object temperature. So maybe we can kind of uh, approximate it. Like if you are inside, we can use the average temperature of the room.
But this knows that because we are two before one, you have to measure the temperature. Everything.
But if we have temperatures that have a range, that's one of the things.
But I mean, the spectrum is this, I think it's producing value, the first value number of oil from there. Yeah, you need to have some maybe weight, I'm not sure. You need to close to value, maybe. Not sure. Grade is not exactly.
Yeah,
It becomes
maybe yeah.
that's right. That's also, you also like why you also one of uh, we are using probably
We're basically kind of using our gas, right? Instructions,
for mine. Yeah, you can use our both ICP and summer but yeah, for that people they are generating summer I mean I think yeah they are generating summer for people from the platform and ICP. For summer platform maybe they require some better one for the temperature of the room. That's not that simple, right? If you have sensors that can automatically measure thermal mass and also the IC mass, that is automatic. Okay, I think that that's simple technique, but simple to use. Both thermal image and IC is captured by the sensor. Right? Over data, I'm not sure about it. It is not only random data, then we have to make it properly for policy intended. And I believe if we want to estimate this with the problem come from the their idea is more about not using thermal. And they want to generate thermal image from the ICD and use it for where is
don't think they they say that like they have website, but I think they're like about for their data set. So I contact them regarding data set, but I didn't find the code. I'll take a look.
in the report review, we can record that paper and say there's some freedom method or some that recovery method for someone used from the ICT. But their application is different from the service.
How do you place our position different from the other
Other freedom method. So I think we can find this method and we are making some